Welcome to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
Hi, everybody. I'm spiritual medium Kellee White, and Ask Me Anything today, along with my two very favorite guests that I have coming on with us. Hi, Diana. How is everybody today? Hey, Renee. How are you doing, honey? Happy Thursday to you, too. Hey, Tracy. Oh, so sweet. Hey, Tracy, I want you to write that question that you had posted on Facebook. Don't forget, that was a great question for Shirley when she's on. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Julie. Hi, Wendy Connolly. And Margaret, my good friend. Hi, Ann Margaret. How you doing, honey? Hi, Laura. Hi, Becky. Oh my God, happy. I love Laura from Wisconsin. Thank you. Hey, Monique. Hey, Diana. Hey, Rhonda and Marge. How is everybody? Oh, Machi. Hi. Larry Climas. Hi, Larry. How's my Larry? Hey, Lori. I wanted to mention Lori Young to you. Congratulations. I know you're going to grad school, and I just want to say congratulations to you. It's such a big deal for therapy as a therapist. So wait, let's see. Hey, Cece. Hey, Elizabeth. Hey, Sylvia. Oh, Rebecca from Australia. Wow. What part of Australia are you in, honey? That's great. Hey, Tammy Lynn. Hey, Susan. Love the tulips. I'll have some new flowers for Saturday. Trust me. Hi, Chrissy. Oh, from Philadelphia. Hey, Dodie. Sarah Stone. How fun is this? Hey, everybody. Hey, Rain. Oh, my gosh. Hey, Paul. Oh, I love you, Paul. How are you doing, honey? Hey, Dee from Chicago. So this is so fun. Well, I have two incredible guests on, you guys. They're not here yet because they're just finishing their sessions. So while they're finishing their sessions, God, I got to say hi to everybody. This is so fun. I'm going to talk about the astrology. Okay, because how about everybody today? Oh, thank you, Tracy. I'll make sure that we get that question for Shirley. So everybody have I don't know, an odd day today? I just am curious if anybody had some, I don't know, got smacked with some energy today. Today, the sun moved into Gemini, and Gemini is all about communications. Did any of your communications get screwed up? Did any of that happen? It's going to be, we've got next few days are going to be pretty intense, is what I'm going to say. The sun entered Gemini, and that's Gemini is communications, it's learning. So everybody, is going to be learning a lot going forward. Things are starting to move again. Dialogue happens and determination happens. So it's going to be an interesting period of time because we're moving again. We're finally moving again. Cheryl says you were so exhausted you couldn't move. I hear that. So Kim Ann, yes, as a Gemini, yes, it explains why you like to talk. Oh, for sure, it's why you like to talk, and it's why you think so well because you've got a quick mind. I mean, certainly. Renee says no communication went very well, but thankfully you're learning a lot. Yeah, I mean, when that goes into Gemini from Taurus, it always is kind of like a wobble time. Anyway, then, because this is not enough, this is just the beginning, folks. So on May 21st, so the day after tomorrow, the sun in Gemini, so the sun squares Jupiter in Pisces. And that brings up some, let's say, what do we call this? Frustration. So remember, not so much tomorrow, but the next day. Oh, no, it is tomorrow. What am I saying? It is tomorrow's the 21st. Sorry about that. Just be prudent in your judgments on things and before you react. We're going to be doing this workshop on Saturdays, everybody knows, Roots of Healing. And I'm going to actually be talking about, reactions, because as all of us, and Margaret says my screen just froze. Sorry about that. But we're going to be talking about reactions. So tomorrow's a great day to practice reactions. It's going to be one of those days. And on May 23rd, Saturn goes into retrograde in Aquarius. And that is actually we're not going to be able to escape our responsibilities. Let's say you needed to get your car fixed or your health worked on, because Saturn rules work and health and karma. So it means to take care of things. and this lasts for several months here. So you'll be working on taking care of yourself, taking care of the people in your life, possibly things that you've had to take care of, karmic things. But on May 25th, this is really interesting to me. There's a grand trine, a grand water trine. And what does that mean? It's when you have 3 different planets in water signs. So it's going to be the moon. This is on the May 25th. The moon's in Scorpio, Mars is in Cancer, and Neptune is in Pisces. That alignment brings a lot of emotion and intuition. It's going to be a really emotional day. That's May 25th, but it also brings inspiration. So that's going to be kind of a cool day, the 25th. But then on the 26th, here we go. It's the total eclipse. We have a moon in Sagittarius, a full moon total eclipse. And that's going to be the beginning of eclipse season. And that's when sudden changes can occur. Okay. Eclipses always bring change. It's what they're about. And a moon, the lunar eclipse will bring out the hidden changes. So we've got a lot going on in the next, just pretty much every day for the next week or so. And then on May 29th, Mercury goes retrograde in its own sign, which is Gemini, which is where we are now. So when that happens, communications can screw up. I wouldn't be signing contracts during that period of time if you don't need to. Brings back old people in your life, brings back old situations that you might have to deal with. So we've got an emotional ride. Yes, Karen, you're absolutely. Karen King says squares mean that the 2 planets do not get along smoothly. That's correct. It's like squaring off with somebody. So it's going to be a very interesting time. But guess what, everybody? We have Shirley Impellizzeri. Dr. Shirley Impellizzeri is on with us. Yay, Dr. Shirley.
Hello there.
Okay, Shirley, you have light.
I have light. I fixed it.
God.
Did you
I
share?
did not tell everybody. I didn't share, but it's a great story to share. I'll just start. I kept saying to Shirley this for years, Shirley, please, you need more light in your background, and she's like nobody needs to see me. I don't know. What did you say? What was your thought process?
It was because Kellee, you kept going the light, and your lighting isn't good, and your lighting isn't good, and I would get so frustrated because the light reflects
really
my
frustrated
glasses and stuff. So finally today, I go, Kellee, who gives a shit what I look like? I don't care what I look like. Yeah. And you're like, it has nothing to do with what you look like. It's so people can see you, because when it's dark, it's annoying. And I went, oh,
no,
that's what it's about.
Really? It was like like I just taught you physics. You just got it.
It was incredible. I thought, why does she care so much how I look like if I don't even care how I look like?
6 years, folks. 6 years. We had a major breakthrough. Now, this was his sun in Gemini. We had a major breakthrough. Guess who else is on right now?
Yay.
Karie, Gonia. Hi.
Oh, Shirley, your brain, girl.
We've discovered I'm on the spectrum, you guys. So
I love it.
We just noticed that recently. It's been a long time.
It's made a lot make sense.
Yes.
When I get stuck on stuff, I know.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm loving it. I go to my daughter, I go, hey, Sid, did you know I'm on the spectrum? Because my dad is very much on the spectrum, and it took me a long time to understand what that meant, But yeah, I mean, to me, it's so relieving when you can understand yourself. It's never, in my field, as you know, Kellee, they always talk about, don't label people.
Yes.
And that's labeling people. And the diagnostic manual is all about label. To me, it helps me make sense of myself. And you always, of course, see each person as the individual they are. But there's something about certain characteristics that are present in people.
Well, it was very helpful for me with you, because you'd get stuck on something and I just couldn't move the dial.
I didn't know, Kellee, when I first met Shirley. I'll never forget being in the car with you, and you were peppering me with questions about spirit, and I was starting to sweat, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know the answer. And you finally looked at me and you said, because I was like, what does Kellee say? And you were like, Kellee just is like, stop asking me questions.
Just go with it.
And I was like, I can say that to you.
Sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you said, I mean, this was another one when you said, and I've heard this before, and I know, Kellee, you've heard it. Karie, you go, oh, he just needs to shut his pie hole. And I said, do they say pie hole because you eat pie from there?
Oh, yeah, she was
I
stuck on
really
pie hole.
Right.
Why
But
is
what
it not cake hole, Karie? Why is it not brownie hole, Karie?
who picked pie hole? I mean, it goes together real nicely, but
Yeah.
that's why I thought for a moment when I used to hear it as a kid, is that what they mean? And I was too embarrassed to ask. But now that I don't give a shit,
Oh my God, I love you so much.
Well,
Ugh.
hi,
people, it's
Karie.
relieving
Hi.
to know who you are and why
Yes.
you are the way you are. There's always a valid reason for it. It's not because you're weird or there's something wrong with you. There's always a valid reason. And that's what part of what we're going to teach on Saturday, isn't it?
Well, let's talk about that. That's going to be so fun on Saturday.
Well, to
I wonder
figure
what
out
else will enlightenment will come that day.
Who knows?
I'm not sure what else we're going to find out about everybody, but it's really going to be an extraordinary day of learning. And as I was mentioning, Shirley, the sun just went into Gemini, and Gemini is all about learning and communication. So it's going to be a really great day to learn and explore ourselves. Know thyself is everything.
Yes.
And I mean, let's talk about this. Shirley, you're going to be talking about it from a psychological standpoint. And before you even get there was a great question that I want to run by you that Tracy Hildreth said, and it was a great question for you. And I'm going to find this question because I wanted you to answer this. Hold on a minute. Where did it go? Tracy, I know you had it here. Oh, here it is. So I blush when someone alludes that I have done something wrong. I turn red. I honestly can answer that I have not, but my body reacts like I did. Is this an FCT applicable or trauma based? I need to stop doing this as people always assume the worst. I figure one of the three amazing women may know a tool I can try. Thank you. Thanks, Tracy.
So when someone alludes that you've done something wrong, were you blamed a lot as a kid for doing stuff? Because it could be that then there's this overwhelming response. To me, when we blush, I mean, it's I think it's partly genetic too, but it's when the nervous system gets flooded.
So it could be from being blamed for whatever it was, whether you did something or not.
Right. Or when attention was put to you and people shamed you, or you felt, shame or humiliation. And so now attention is being put at you. Did you do something wrong? Or they question you. And then all of a sudden that can, flood the nervous system. So it's something related to that. But I would venture to guess that it's tied into something in childhood.
Oh, great. That's a great answer. Karie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say something similar, especially again, if you're 30s and up. I mean, most of our parents had that program of shame is love. I see that a lot. There's a hardcore program in family systems within those generations of shame is love. And can I just shout out to Tracy? She has the best questions week after week after week. I love seeing her little avatar pop up. She has such thoughtful questions.
Great.
Yeah.
She's terrific.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be joining us on Saturday. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Right.
So there's another great question here. Kim Ann Snodgrass says, I'm about to be around some challenging family members this weekend. Are there any suggestions as to how to handle that going forward with this?
Karie, that's you.
I think boundaries, the B word, boundaries. And something that's been really useful since family constellation has come into my life is having curiosity and awareness of how I'm responding and reacting when I'm around my family. That always shows me, obviously, like where I'm at in my healing and, other things that I need to work on. But I definitely think boundaries.
But I like that you just said it's how you would react to something. Because we're going to be talking about that on Saturday. Reaction is everything.
Everything.
You're going to be we're all going to be at every moment put into a situation. At every moment.
Yeah.
You just don't know when that moment's going to come. Bite you in the ass. But it is going to happen.
But that's why it's so important to what you just said, Karie, is to notice your emotions about something. We can't control how we feel. We really can't. They just show up. We can control how we respond. And many times, I'm a big proponent about anger. Anger's turned into a 4-letter word in our society. And that's because the emotion of anger has been coupled or associated with the behavior of anger. And they're two very different things. If we didn't have the emotion of anger, the species wouldn't have survived because it's life force, it's life energy. Someone comes at me, unless I got angry, I wouldn't be able to push them away, in the Neanderthal days, right? So anger is such an important emotion to feel. And all you have to do is validate it. Oh my God, I'm so angry right now. I feel like there's a volcano erupting in my stomach.
Mhm.
You could just validate it for yourself and choose not to respond. But the two are completely different things.
Mhm.
Wow.
You know, we talk about people being oversensitive. There's no such thing. We feel
Right.
what we feel. We cannot control what we feel.
Right.
We just feel it. So best is to validate it. The neuroscientists have a saying, name it to tame it. When we validate an emotion, it takes the charge off of it.
So do you think, Shirley, along with that thought process, when you were young, or not, I mean you in general, when people are young, if you validate what they're feeling, does that help soothe? Does that help them grow as emotionally?
That is the best tool we can give our kids, is to help them. In fact, one of the things that I gave for people that signed up on the seminar was effective communication sheet. Validation is the most important thing. A little kid, falls and is crying. What do? We run to fix it. No, you're okay. You're okay. Look, you're fine. You're fine. Well, it was scary. All you have to do is, wow, that was so scary. Here, I'll protect you. Validate the feeling. That's all you have to do. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine. He was saying that his son was getting bullied, and he was trying to fix it. What do I do? And do I talk to? And I go, just validate how he feels. So he called me the next day, and he goes, it works like magic. The child was crying and saying this kid told him that he couldn't play, have lunch with him and that kind of stuff. And all my friend said was, oh, that's got to be so hurtful. That must have hurt your feelings. And the little boy grabbed his dad's cheeks and said, that's exactly how I feel, Dad. And then he turned around and that was it.
Wow. So validation is very important.
Wow.
Laura Parmley Hoffman says, does that work when you are having a panic attack?
Well, interesting question, because panic attack is when the anxiety has gone. When you're having a panic attack, you absolutely have to know that our nervous systems have an emergency breaker system, just like an electricity does. So eventually it will stop. But what happens with a panic attack or with anxiety or any emotion, big emotion, even anger, the thinking part of the brain disconnects from the emotional part of the brain. So you need to keep that thinking part connected. So when you're about to have a panic attack, grab something and just start reading it.
So with rage, then, if that happens, is that why people can black out and do things?
And that's where the expression, I didn't mean what I said, comes. Because the thinking brain, if this is the brain right here, this part literally goes offline, and we are just emoting in that moment. So if you're in the car and you're noticing a lot of anxiety, you're about to go into a panic attack, read street signs, read license plates, X, Y, Z. Keep this part of your brain engaged.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It won't take the anxiety away completely, but you won't go into a panic attack.
Right. Wow. Chrissy Hayden says, Shirley, I tend not to speak my mind on how I feel when I'm dating, Cheryl, or when I'm interested in someone, Cheryl. Growing up, we could not express how we felt. And when I did express how I feel to men, I would get a negative response. How can I change this? Shirley, how can I change? That's the name of her book, by the way.
Her book is phenomenal. I've been telling everyone.
It's out of print now because I've taken it back, the rights back. I want to update it and change the title.
I love the title.
I love the title too. 2 against 1, Cheryl.
I know. I get stuck on something and I can't let it go.
I know.
Well, it depends on how you're saying what you're saying. So many times what people do is they wait too long. And then when they say something, it comes out with a little bit of an edge. And that edge is going to put the other person, the recipient's nervous system, into the defensive mode. So I would be very careful in how you're saying it and not wait too long when you want to say something, because otherwise you won't be able to help the edge because you're already upset.
It's an interesting thing that you just said. Some people say, wait on it, think about it for a period of time before you say something. And in your case, you're really saying probably think and say something.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a difference between a reaction, which may come off like you don't want it,
Yeah.
and waiting until your emotions have calmed down a little bit so you can actually say something like a communication instead of a reaction.
Right,
However, don't wait too long where you just kind of rationalize it for yourself. Well, it wasn't that big of a deal. They didn't really mean it, so I'm not going to say anything. And then you skip over it. That's what I mean. Don't skip over it.
Right. Let me answer this. Elizabeth Glomsky says, hi, Elizabeth. She said, last week I asked you why I felt so disconnected from my family. You told me I am a starseed It's true. It's true. I should explain what a starseed is to everybody. Can you recommend books? Yes. For me to learn about this? Yes. I was shocked at how much sense it made. I bought my ticket for Saturday the next day. Oh, great. Yay. I'm so happy. There's a great book for this. Oh, golly. Let me find it. Oh, naturally. Now I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, nope. I don't have it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. So sorry. Nope. I don't have it. I don't have it on me. I'm so sorry, everybody, but I have it. I'll put it in the comments. Golly, how do I
Might
not
that be
have
one
this
of the
book?
ones, Kel?
Oh,
Might that be
here
one
it
of the
is.
ones that you let me borrow?
Nope, I got it. I have more books. I have a library here, and what you can only see is like a part of the library. And
I
then
love books.
James mailed me 25 pounds of his books. 25 pounds
Oh,
of
wow.
books. I know, and they just arrived yesterday.
Oh, I love that.
And they're all his favorites. So this is a great book. It's called Souls on Earth. This is a great book for intergalactic. If you feel that you're disconnected from your family, that you are not from around here, it's by Dr. Linda Backman, Backman, and exploring interplanetary past lives. And she worked with, until he passed away, Michael Newton. So, and his work is pretty profound with intergalactic and on past lives. So once you kind of get to that realization that something is off, I'm just not from here. And you really start paying attention to that, it's going to make a lot of sense. As you said, Shirley, name it to tame it. You know, I work with a lot of people that are just not from here. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'll never forget the day you told me that, Kel. It made so much sense to me.
I said it to Shirley. Yeah.
I had a constellation yesterday and I was like, where are you from? And she's like, Wisconsin. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I mean, like, where are you from?
Okay. And I'll say to people in Wisconsin, well, you know, I don't mean Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
That's how Kelly said it to me. She goes,
Yeah.
Girl, you're not from here. And I don't mean LA.
Yeah, and I don't mean LA. And I think I said it in a nice way. But as soon as I recognize somebody that just thinks differently, it has trouble here in this dimension. You know, in fact, Karie, I'm curious, when you do a family constellation, and you know the person is not from around here. Now, I know all starseeds are originally from somewhere else, but how do you do that? Does it ever come up in a family constellation?
Honestly, not really. I feel like I have a handful of people that are really at that level and like at that consciousness level and aware of that.
Yeah.
But I have a tendency to attract people that are really working on their 3D human trauma.
And by the way, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, get unstuck.
Yeah.
Which is really our point in doing the webinar on Saturday. I mean, our point is to help move people so they can actually live the life that they are meant to live here, instead of getting stuck in whatever traumas or whatever family dramas or whatever they've heard about themselves that they couldn't quite move forward. That's what our goal is on Monday or Saturday. Is that about right, girls?
Yeah. I'm so excited. I woke up so excited. I was on a show this morning in the UK.
Tell us about that.
It's funny. I've been strangely emotional all day because it was really early this morning and it was on trauma and addiction. And I got off the call of like, God, there's so much pain in family systems, but there's so much beauty too. Like I felt really inspired, but I felt, I've been really emotional all day about it. But it was an extraordinary call, and just there are so many people in the world, you guys, that are connected and looking to help people grow and heal. And I'm just so excited that we get to come together for a day, the three of us, and be a light or a guide.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. My goodness. Let's see. Oh, Karen Rager says, Karie, can you post how to contact you? And I think Renee has it up here. It's Spirit and Sparkle. I know that Renee's going to post it up here for you, but there it is. Spiritsandsparkle.com. And
you can just email me through the contact page. My store is closed. I just temporarily disabled it so I could catch up with clients because I'm redoing my website, but you can still email me through it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, great. So, hey, Catherine Dow says, hey, Kat, how are you doing, honey?
Kat.
I love her. She says, hi, ladies, Dr. Shirley. I have this very deep-seated need to be in a relationship with someone due to growing up in a very codependent home. I go in and out of needing secure attachment. Any advice, Cheryl? Secure attachment.
Well, that's wound can heal, so you don't,
Yeah.
and that's our purpose actually for healing, and certainly our purpose for Saturday is so our decisions in the present are conscious decisions and not based on unhealed wounds from the past and unhealed trauma. And it sounds like, Catherine, that's what you're saying, that you grew up in a very codependent home, so you feel the need to be in a relationship. And so in our work is to shift from a need to a would like. I'd like to be in a relationship, but I don't need to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
That's when that's the healing that needs to occur. So you're not kind of really a prisoner to your trauma, where,
Wow.
It's funny how that small of a reframe, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that small of a reframe opens up the light, opens up the
Yeah.
energy, opens up the space for healing.
Yeah.
And you can actually go, oh, it's up there with kind of like name it to tame it. Oh, that's it. It's that aha moment. Oh,
Yeah. Well, because we're so scared of emotions, because no
Yeah.
one taught us how to navigate through them. And sometimes it's just holding the space. I read this beautiful article about a woman whose son came home from being bullied. And she said, I couldn't take it away. I couldn't take the pain away from him. So I just held him and held the space for him to feel his pain. And so then you don't have to be afraid of emotions. You know you're going to feel them, and you know that they will pass because someone was there to hold the space for you to have a big emotion, especially when we're little. We don't know. We can't make sense of them.
yeah.
We don't know what they are. They become scary. And parents go into this fix-it mode.
Right.
I got asked that this morning about just with addiction and trauma and family systems. And the question was something to the effect of, well, can't you just have self-acceptance and then like sit with yourself and just accept yourself and then the trauma goes away? And I was trying to explain that I think it's a yes. And I sure as hell couldn't do that at 20, 25 because nobody taught me how to regulate my emotions.
Exactly.
So when I got overwhelmed, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go run 5 miles because I don't know what to do with this, So it's, I think I love that lady was able to just hold him.
Yes. And then the emotions pass, and then they talked about it, and there was healing and repair, but he had to feel his emotions. We try to shut him down. That's kind of how we were taught to be, and how our society.
Well, also, some people, as soon as they're born, they have a borderline parent. And if that happens, you're like immediately the emotion is going to be shut down.
Well, there's no room
because it wouldn't be safe.
With a narcissist or a borderline, there's no room. And also sometimes you have borderline is the rage component, or a parent that reacts in an angry way. So now we associate anger with the reaction of anger, and then anger becomes too scary of an emotion to feel. I'm not going to tap into that, and so then we try to push it down and ignore it, but it's still there. And that's the issue with emotions.
Absolutely.
Energy.
It's the energy.
They're energy. They don't just disappear because we decide to not pay attention to them.
No, what happens is you run to the next relationship, or you run to the next whatever, the drug, the alcohol, the something, to keep it down.
Oh, they're there. Well, addictions are all about that. It's about suppressing something that's too difficult to feel.
And not feeling, it's the crux of transgenerational trauma, multi-generational trauma, not feeling, not witnessing, not walking through that pain is what keeps it being passed down and passed down.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Because it's too hard to feel, especially if you don't have the tools.
Yeah.
It's too scary.
Wow. Cheryl Udall says, funny, I grew up in a codependent family and I went the opposite way. I avoid relationships, Cheryl. I think her name is Cheryl Shirley. Too many disappointments. If I can't pick right, I won't pick a relationship at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's, again, it's still a reaction from a trauma, and so the interesting thing, if I can't pick right, which is great. So you'd rather not be in a relationship than be in a dysfunctional or, an abusive relationship, which is wonderful. Right. But then I would, if there's a pattern of picking the wrong person, then I would be curious about that, about the pattern and what wound is unhealed yet that causes this pattern to continue to show up.
And that curiosity piece, again, opens the door.
Oh, yeah. one of my teachers once told me, curiosity is the antidote to judgment. And it's so true. When we can be
So
curious
true.
about what's going on, the judgment is gone.
Yeah.
I can criticize myself and go, why the fuck am I stuck on stuff? Why do I get stuck? What? And that's critical and judgmental. But if I go, oh, I'm curious, why do I get stuck on stuff?
You can ask me and I'll just tell you.
The way to be.
Do you love that I was like, what does Kellee say?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was very funny.
What does Kellee say about all these questions?
It just makes no sense in my head.
Yeah.
I remember that one time that you saw my client as they were leaving and you saw the person who was next to them.
Me,
and you
you're
go,
talking
hey, did
about?
that person, yeah. I said, hey, I don't want to get into details, but hey, did that person lose so-and-so? And I went, yeah, how do you know? You go, because I saw him walk out with her. How do you see him? Like Casper the Ghost? Do you see him like you see me?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean,
that was the whole thing. And I'm like,
my left brain went crazy.
It really did. That was a big moment. I remember that.
Man.
So here's another great question. Anne Margaret asked this. Hi, Anne Margaret. Hi, Dr. Shirley. Can you talk about how my being bullied as a child between 6 and 14 affected me because I was afraid to tell my family? I have no idea why I didn't tell my parents that I had an attempted sexual abuse and picked on by a big kid in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's awful. Well, it causes you to, it could be, and this is again, when we talk about family, we're theorizing just based on the facts of what you've said. And it's not about blame. Please understand that it's not about blame. It's about understanding. Maybe you were too afraid to tell your family because they hadn't created a safe space for you to be able, maybe you thought you would get in trouble, but it affects you because it affects, your ability to trust people. It can affect your ability to put yourself out there, because what if because it feels so bad. The emotional pain is so, I have people who are dealing with it as adults who, when it happened as kids, you questions people, why do they want to be friends with me? I mean, it causes you to question a lot of things, and for the most part, not put yourself out there.
Right. And then Karie, from a family systems standpoint, or from a family constellation, if I know both of her parents were Irish, is there a big Irish family constellation energy? I guess it's a question. I mean, I guess it would be with all groups of people, but
yeah, I mean, in terms of being bullied, I've seen that pattern kind of regenerate, if you will, if there's like neglect in the previous generation. So again, times of depression, times of war, all of that, there is a lot of abandonment and subsequent rejection. I always tell people, look for the ages. It's rare for me to see if you went through something from 6 to 14, either mom or dad, depending on how many siblings you have, there's some trauma that is stuck at 6 to 14. I've seen thousands and thousands of people, and I've never come across a client who had like an isolated incident. And again, theorizing family systems, but I definitely see that there's some pattern that is stuck from previous generations. And it could be safety comes up a lot in these types of situations, feeling safe to be seen, safe to take up space, safe to be heard. So, but in my work, it always goes back to like the neglect, abandonment, attachment piece.
And during our webinar, you're going to talk about attachment styles, right, Shirley?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So excited.
Which is going to be great.
So
you're going to talk about the different
that sets
styles.
The foundation. Yeah, that sets the foundation. Every mammal attaches, and it's in the quality of how we attach based on how attuned our caregivers were. And again, not to blame, but to understand that the seeds, of self-esteem, am I lovable? Am I worthy? Am I deserving? Is planted. The seeds of, can I trust others to be there for me? Is planted. And does the world feel like a safe place or not safe? I mean, those are three big, huge seeds that get planted.
And that's just initially. That's right from the get-go.
The first, you can see videos on YouTube, in the study that they did, the first 18 months, the baby already shows who the primary attachment figure is. Yeah.
Wow.
And the study showed that they found out that it was about feeling safe, not about food, because they used to do these studies, way back when, where a nurse would feed the baby. but whoever the baby was attached to, the baby would cry for and stop eating. So it wasn't about food. It was about safety. And when you think about it, in the Neanderthal days, the baby that kind of took off on its own would get eaten by the tiger. So it's all about survival. All these kind of mechanisms, built-in innate mechanisms, are all about survival. The species stays together, attached, then you can see the approaching tiger behind me and I can see it behind you. But if you're alone, there's less chances of survival.
I think that's why the dynamics in family system get stuck, right? Like I always tell people, if the set point of your entire family system has been survival, to buck that system means life or death. And a lot of people that doesn't come into their consciousness. So then they get into those habitual patterns of picking the wrong person or being single or whatever. So
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, another way to answer that question is the effects of bullying. It causes you to not feel safe enough to get close to people.
Yeah.
Because what if, bullying just hurts so much. It hurts to the point of who you are as a human being, because they're ridiculing you. They're making fun of you. So it's incredible emotional pain. Yeah. And emotional pain stimulates this. I'm sorry, Karie. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to say, I've seen the effects from a constellation perspective too, where it takes away their ability to trust themselves.
Exactly.
And that's that part's tricky to try and heal.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's absolutely true, because I can't protect myself, because you couldn't. So that energy of the fight or flight gets stuck because you couldn't protect yourself, because maybe it was going to be worse. And so that energy gets stuck.
And from a spiritual standpoint, we may have chosen to learn to trust and trust ourselves in this lifetime. So we may have been put into a pattern of this.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So Cheryl Udall says, my mother was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I'm so sorry, honey. Everything you are saying makes sense. I just can't figure out how to heal the trauma. Thank you so much, ladies. I'm learning a lot for sure.
Well, therapy. I mean, that's one of the worst. To have a borderline parent, particularly mom, is one of the most tragic, circumstances. Cheryl, I don't know. Let me see. I have it back here.
I was going to say, Shirley,
I was thinking that too.
The best book. Did you have it? I also have a new one for you, Cheryl.
Well, this one I picked up.
Okay. How scary is that?
I know. They changed the cover.
Flipped.
I know.
It was so scary they changed the cover.
They changed the cover.
Yeah. I pick up books that I like about different subjects, and then I buy them and I give them out to my clients. This one, it's a very simply written book, but if your mom was borderline, you will be able to relate to this very much. And her face, it's that kind of, I'm a victim, contorted, but I'm doing it. It's just the facial expression on this is just right on for a borderline.
Scary.
But I would say go to therapy, but a therapist is trained in somatic, because the trauma and the stuck fight or flight is stuck in your body. Yeah. And so it's an important, we can talk about it until you're blue in the face, but that's not going to heal the trauma. That doesn't get underneath.
And it doesn't mean, if you have a borderline mother, that you would become borderline. It doesn't mean that. You could have traits. You might have learned to survive that way, but it does not mean that you're borderline. So I always want to make that clear to people.
Exactly. And you asking, oh my God, does that mean I'm a borderline alone? Lets you know you're not a borderline, because they have no clue.
I have a lot of that in my practice. I see, and they'll say to me, do you think I am? And I'll be like, do I have a stomach ache? Because you can always I get a stomach ache if I get around one. And I'm like, no stomach ache. You're not. It's my checkpoint, Let's see. Do you see, Karie, in family systems, when you're doing one of your sessions with people, can you pick up if the parent, mother or father, has a personality disorder?
I'm like you. My body responds really almost violently. Like, it's crazy. My stomach gets really crazy. I can typically figure out like where it originated, which is really interesting.
And so Kim Ann asked a great question here. She says, when you say borderline, what does that mean? Borderline what? So who wants to take that? I mean,
Shirley is the borderline whisperer.
Oh, well, no, Kellee is.
I'm the borderline whisperer.
Are you?
Yeah. Shirley's a better explainer, and I'm a better whisperer with it.
Oh my God, I love it.
It means that I can wrangle a snake pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kelly's a great snake wrangler. I mean,
It's
the
unbelievable.
best. The best. Well, it's like being Jane Goodall when you've lived amongst them. You really get to
You
feel
can
their
call me
energy and their
Jane,
nature.
Shirley. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You can call
Yeah.
me Jane.
Yeah.
But let's explain what borderline
Well,
personality
so
disorder is.
borderline it's a personality disorder, so it's different than like depression, anxiety, bipolar. That's a disorder of your state of mind. A personality disorder is a disorder of your personality, of who you are. So while depression, anxiety is ego dystonic, like, oh, I'm so depressed, I want to get rid of this. What can I do? Personality disorders are ego syntonic. I don't know. What's wrong with you? I'm fine. So they don't know they have it. There's no ability for awareness, and there's absolutely no ability for owning it.
And there's no medication.
I was going to say there's no real treatment for it, is there?
No.
Yeah.
And the part of the problem, anti-seizure medication they have found can work to decrease a little bit of the reactionary in the borderline brain. But the problem is there's no awareness. So how can you fix something you're not aware of? But the term borderline came in the times of Freud when they thought that they were looking at people who were on the border of neuroses and psychoses. Then they realized, no, it's a disorder all on its own, but they never changed the name. So people think literally borderline, what are they on the border of? They're not. It's just, it's a name of a personality disorder like narcissism. Narcissistic personality disorder, sociopath, that's another personality disorder.
And some of the simple traits that you would know is often they'll rage, often they have big mood swings. You will hear the expression, I feel empty inside. That's a big one. And they are very black and white. You're either highly valued or very devalued.
They split people.
Split people bad.
Someone always does something to hurt them or do something wrong to them. So, when my clients start to date, I'll say, ask the question if they have any long-term friends in the city that they live, not in other cities, because inevitably somebody will always do something. They have very thin skin. And so then they rage against, you parted your hair the wrong way. You said you were going to part your hair to the right. Anything can.
And Renee says it's life of hell for a borderline. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, absolutely. So Shirley,
I wouldn't want to be a minute in their mind.
No. Elizabeth Glomsky says, is narcissism a personality disorder?
Oh, yes. Every borderline is a narcissist. Every narcissist is not necessarily a borderline. Because in the borderline, it's that anger component. But you can be a malignant narcissist, which is more of a bully. The rage is the borderline piece. Yeah.
They're the ones with no empathy. I mean, it's. We could do a show just on personality disorders. But there was a great question. Let me see. Lori Count says, I found out from my 89-year-old father that my mother, who had passed, didn't want me. Oh my God. That immediately goes to, back then abortion for her was shameful to her family. I have 2 older siblings and there's a 7-year difference, which we can say actually would make you an only child if we go by how many years difference it is. But my whole life I could feel she didn't love me, and now I know. Oh my gosh. Isn't that wild? Because you can feel it. It's an energy. Renee and I, before the show, we're talking about energy, and you can feel energy. It's a thing. So if you don't feel that love from your mom, you know something is going on here.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a hard one, Lori.
I'll always put these situations in a constellation field. Excuse me. And the mother's back will be to the child and the child's back will be to the mother. But it's interesting because the child will always reject themselves and not the parent. Every time. Every time. Yeah.
They'll reject themselves.
They'll reject themselves, but not the parent.
Why is that?
Because you
too
can't.
scary.
You can't. It's life or death.
Yes. You depend on your parents for survival.
Yeah.
It's too scary to think, oh God, there's something wrong with them. It's got to be me.
Wow.
Plus, it makes you feel a little bit more in control. If I can just figure out what I'm doing wrong, then they can act like the parents I need them to.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Here we have a question from Jody W., and I think this is for you, Karie. She says, in the last 2 years, I have suddenly and without medical reason had issues with my spine. I've had 2 levels of my spine and my neck replaced and a surgery on my lower back last fall. Is this possibly an FCT issue, which is family constellation therapy issue, which is what Karie does? I wondered if I was hanged or guillotined in a past life at this age.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the spine is the ancestral line. So karma will show up back there. Any trauma will show up there. Typically, back issues in my work anyway is like all the shit that you don't want to face. And so I find when people come at this level, I actually had a client years ago that ended up having to have back surgery, and we started doing constellation. I mean, he was in like couldn't walk pain, like super fit guy, and we started doing constellation therapy, and then all of a sudden his back started to heal. So there's probably a lot that hasn't been processed out. And there's definitely past life energy and past life trauma for all of us. I see that a lot.
Wow. That's just amazing. Gosh. Lori Young says, I have seen this with a foster child that she had. I think she's referring to not the back issues, but with a mother not loving another mother. Is that what you mean? Or not loving their child? Is that, Lori, what you mean with a foster child? That's all a rough one. Renee says, oh, geez, I have bones in my neck that give me issues and lower spine issues. So what you're saying?
Yeah, and so neck is typically around being burdened and like carrying the emotional trauma of those who came before. Low back is always like early development, childhood stuff, safety, security, stability, home.
Wow.
Support shows up there a lot. Sometimes people will be like pushed into walls or tables during constellations because they need something to actually like hold them up.
Well, actually, that did happen to me. I actually fell when I did a session with Karie. It's the truth. I actually fell against the wall. Couldn't believe it. It was like some magic energy went poof. Couldn't believe it. Charlene Richardson Callahan says, Karie, can disease be carried from our ancestors, and can it be unkinked? Did they sign up for disease and now it carries down the line? A lot of cancer in the family and all different kinds from one generation to the next. Great question.
That's a great question. I would look at the patterns. What kind of cancers are they showing? Is it the same kind of cancers? I see this a lot with like autoimmune stuff, being genetic, but through epigenetics, we can turn the gene on or off. And so again, I attract a lot of trauma cases. So oftentimes the trauma has activated those genes. But I love Louise Hay's work. If you Google Louise Hay, Louise Hay, I feel like everyone knows Louise Hay, but I would start kind of researching ages. If it's just men, women, what side is it on? If it's kind of equal on either side, and then what types of cancers they are, because then you can kind of figure out where it started and where it's stuck.
Wow, how interesting. Gosh, and we're going to have lots more questions and answers for people on our webinar, aren't we? We're going to be breaking into groups, and then everybody will have time with all of us. Does that sound about right, everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What we're going to do?
Answer questions.
Answer questions.
I'm really excited about the Q&A part, because I feel like to have the three of us together, because those different points of entry, that's always my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many different points of healing, I think.
Well, and that's how we all came up with this, because there are so many different points of view. I mean, I'll look at everything with a spiritual lens. Shirley looks at it from a real psychological and attachment lens, and other lenses in trauma. And Karie, you look at it also as not just family constellation, but you look at it in trauma with a lens for that as well.
Yeah, intergenerational trauma, which is huge.
And I forever have you and Shirley in my brain. When I was on that talk this morning, it's just this extraordinary thing that they do once a month. I was really honored to be on, but we talked about Dr. Levine's work. We talked about Shirley's work. We talked about Kelly's work, because all of it matters,
It does. It all matters, actually. And this lifetime is a very important lifetime for everybody. It's really about moving on and maybe clearing up the family trauma from generations. Michelle Knox Fraunheiser says, I can relate to that statement about feeling it is the child's fault. All my childhood, after my sister was born, and there's a 5-year difference, I felt like my mom loved my sister more. About 3 years before she passed, she admitted to me that she did love Darla more. She was, oh my gosh, she was born premature and almost died, and it made their connection stronger. That was something I could understand, and I stopped blaming myself.
See?
Wow, Michelle.
Yeah. It's so important to understand the reason. Yeah.
That's a big one.
It still hurts. It doesn't take away the pain, but there's a relief that comes with understanding.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Gosh, let's see. I mean, how many of us will be attending your workshop? Well, we've got room for just a few more, Diana. We have room for a few more here. So we're very excited about that. We've got room for just a few more. So Min says, this is fascinating today, ladies. Amazing topic. As Kelly says, wow, I do say that a lot. Wow, I do. Oh, Gretchen White says, I met James Van Prague at the chiropractor getting my spine checked.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay,
That's amazing.
Gretchen, that's hysterical. Was
He's
that
a
pretty
doll.
recently? I think that's so funny. And then, Carmen asks about, Diana has her tickets. Great, Diana. It's going to be so fun. Carmen asks about stomach issues.
Stomach issues can be due to being stuck in the fight or flight, because when we're in fight or flight, it's because we feel threat and we have to, the energy has to mobilize to the big muscles so we can run out of the way or fight. And it doesn't care about digestion because who gives a shit? I need to save my life right now. So when we get stuck in that fight or flight mode, then digestion starts to not work well, especially if it's been years and years and years, because the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that's about calming and relaxing, that has to be on. You have to feel safe enough for digestion and that stuff to be able to happen well. But when we're stuck in fight or flight, it's the sympathetic nervous system that's stuck on. And so then you see a lot of people with, gastrointestinal issues, IBS.
And from a spiritual standpoint, it's the third chakra, which is the power chakra. So did somebody take the power?
Yeah.
Why are you stuck in fight or flight or freeze?
Yeah. From an ancestral perspective, they call that area the ancestral belt. So trauma that hasn't been processed out will get stuck in that area. And so it's fertility issues. Yeah.
Wow.
Gastro issues, digestive issues, gaining weight in that area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Rubber Tree says, I have a birthday defect in my back. I'm not sure what that means, but could this be
birth defect?
I think a birth defect. I'm not sure. Could this be ancestral trauma?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like it could be past life trauma too. I see that a lot in constellation therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that when people are born with some sort of birthmark, that is? I've always heard that was a past life something.
I've always heard that too. Yeah, my sister has a birthmark. And I always felt that as a little kid of like, you came in with this, like this came from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. My brother has one too, and I always said, "You got that because somebody stabbed you, buddy."
Yeah.
I always think that. Okay, so Elizabeth says, "What about issues with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome?"
Yeah, that's the same thing. So when the sympathetic nervous system gets on when we're active, when it's excitement, when it's anger, when it's fight or flight to defend ourselves. Right. So all the energy again goes to the big muscles, and then. Natural regulation is that then we regulate ourselves and we go into a calm state. And that's when digestion happens and we can rest and we can relax and we can calm. When that gets disrupted because of too much trauma or feeling unsafe as a kid, because there was no one there to kind of help you navigate, through emotions or that kind of stuff, then your body kind of gets stuck on fight or flight. And so too much of that, then you're not digesting well because there's no opportunity to, because you're, the rest and digest part of your nervous system doesn't get turned on as often. And so many years of that will lead to.
Right.
Yeah.
So Anne Margaret says, should we prep in any way for your class? She has our mail. So if you sign up right now, you do get 3 extra
handouts
from one from me, one from Shirley, and one from Karie. And it's got a lot of really good information in it in this special little handout. But is there anything that they need to do to prep for our class? I don't think so. Just be there, be yourself. Come up with an open mind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would come with some intentions, or something that you are kind of holding space for yourself or for others that you would like to either learn or heal, or a tool. I'm going to be doing a constellation, a group constellation at the end. You'll need some paper and a pen. I know it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be rad to see that many people kind of wobbling around in their living rooms. But
so paper meaning like just
just lined
paper or
copy paper or lined paper. I wouldn't stand on anything small. You can, it won't screw it up if you don't do it, but it's just uncomfortable for your feet. So printer paper, regular college lined or wide ruled lined paper, and a pen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then get some coffee or tea ready, and we're going to go off to the races. Jana Marie Peterson says, I had 2 ectopic pregnancies when I was young. I'm now having issues with my pelvic area. Is this related?
I mean, it absolutely could be. And in my work, I would look for stillborns in your, specifically like grandparents' generation, miscarriage in your mother's generation. Typically, they show up before you. But that area, I would definitely look for missing babies in the family system.
Wow. So nothing is lost. Everything's in a family system.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I bet. Right.
I was going to make a smart ass comment. I was like, I think we wish that some stuff could be lost, but I mean, not everything is accounted for.
Everything. I mean, that's
everything.
Spiritually, everything is accounted for. Everything is accounted for spiritually.
Sarah, before you go into that, for the other person that had the pelvic, I would also maybe do some somatic work around the pelvic. There could be some stuck energy there of, and
Shirley, I'm curious, during our webinar, will you be doing any will you do a somatic exercise for people?
Yeah, I will. Absolutely.
I think that'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah, because the body has all the information and all the trauma, and it can speak louder. And sometimes it does when we're not paying attention. A lot of times diabetes has been tied to many times unresolved trauma. Certainly, gastrointestinal issues, immune disorders. And so the body will speak louder. And with the pelvis, I don't think it's a coincidence that the ectopic pregnancies and then issues with the pelvic, maybe the pelvic is trying to, protect something. We see with people with a lot of trauma and shocks to the heart, where all of a sudden their posture is their shoulders are hunched forward. Well, that's the body trying to protect the heart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. Okay, this was going to be our last question here. Sarah Stone says, I had digestion issues for years, and that makes sense because my dad tried to kill our family.
Oh my goodness.
He then was taken to a mental health facility for help. Oh my God. No wonder. Oh, honey.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's, literally life or death. So you're like this. How can you not be like this?
I know.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I've had 2 clients like that. I know personally that have had that situation. That's a tough one. Lisa Phillips says, I'm not available Saturday. Will you have this again? At some point, Lisa, we will. At some point, we're hoping to do that. So we have other things planned as well.
Yeah.
So, gosh, girls, I mean, I can't wait to everybody.
This was so fun.
So fun. It flies by. The hour flies by.
Right?
It goes so fast.
It's like a little preview to Saturday.
I know.
So fun.
Yes.
We're going to have so much fun on Saturday. So if you can join us, it's 9 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Mountain time, 11 a.m. my time in Central, and noon in the East Coast. Had to get that out. And join us for Roots of Healing. And we look forward. And thank you, girls, so much. I'll see you Saturday.
Thank you. Welcome.
So
Saturday. Bye,
Yay,
guys.
thanks, Renee.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.